The new and used car market is changing, and this is a big deal because this means that new and used car prices will also be changing, which is of course good news for anybody that's wanting to buy a car, whether it be for their Turo fleet, their car sharing fleet, or for personal use. So in today's video, I'm going to be breaking down exactly what is happening in the new and used car market and what this means for you as a car consumer. So let's get started. Now, like I mentioned in the intro to this video, the car market is changing. And in my opinion, the car market has changed most significantly in the last 30 to 60 days, and we've seen in months, which is of course really great news. Now, in this video, I want to break down exactly how the market has changed, and I want to do so by analyzing three key metrics. Number one is we're going to be looking at Cargurus Car Value Index. This is a tool that I really love, and if you've seen this channel before, you've probably seen me use it. But basically what this does is it allows for you to see historical data of cars across different makes, models, and even types of cars. That way you can see how cars have been priced historically versus what they're priced at today. The second piece of data I want to look at is sales volume, specifically sales volume for used cars. This is going to be a really good way to gauge demand, and we're going to be taking a look at sales volume today versus what it's looked like in the past. And last but certainly not least, we're going to be looking at how car prices have dropped on a per listing basis on platforms like AutoTrader and Cars.com. You see, whenever a seller is selling a vehicle and they're having trouble selling that car, oftentimes they'll price drop that car, so they'll reduce the price of the vehicle in order to incentivize it to be sold. This is of course a good sign that demand is slowing down, so we're going to be taking a look at that as well. Now, before we dive in, if you guys could do me a huge favor, and if you could hit the like button and hit the notification bell for the YouTube algorithm, I would greatly appreciate it. So without further ado, let's dive into my computer and let's start digging into the data. Now, right here we have the Cargurus Car Value Index, and this is the very first metric that I want to look at. This tool is super valuable because it allows for you to see what cars have been priced at historically, and thus you can see how they've either appreciated or depreciated over a 30-day, 90-day, and year-to-date period of time. You can also customize the dates right here, and you can see a chart that corresponds with those dates so that you can see the historical data for any time frame you would like to. Right here, I have the date set for December 1st, 2020 up until present day, which is February 21st, 2022. Then from here, you can see a table that breaks down the make, the average price, the last 30-day appreciation or depreciation, the last 90-day, and the year to date. Now, if we look at the graph here, you can see a breakdown of Ford, Chevy, Toyota, Jeep, and then the index price, which is basically all cars accumulated together and the average for those vehicles. And you can see here that the cars have appreciated quite substantially over the last 2 years. Back in February of 2021, car prices were pretty normal. They were pretty stabilized and roughly where they should be. But then over the course of the last year, prices just really skyrocketed between February of 2021 and the summer of 2021. So in about a 6-month period of time, cars appreciated by about 25%. Then between summer of 2021 and present day, February of 2022, cars continued to appreciate, but not quite at the same rate. They did slow down in appreciation rate, but they were still appreciating at record highs. But really what I want to hone in here is right around this period of time, which is December of 2021 to present day, February of 2022. And you can see here that if we hone in on this graph a little bit further and we look at December 15th, 21 to February 21st, 2022, you can see that the graph continues to go up until about mid-January, and then it starts to decline. The decline is very, very subtle, but it is declining nonetheless, which is a big deal. You can see here that if we look at the index price, which is right over here, the price of a vehicle is $30,767 on January 12th. If we look at that exact same index price for present day about a month later, you can see that it's $30,693. Again, it's a very small decrease, but it is a decrease, and that is substantial. Now, this graph here simply doesn't paint the entire picture, and in my opinion, to really get a better glimpse of what's going on in the market, we need to scroll down to the table that Cargurus offers. And if you look at this table, you can see a variety of different types and styles of cars that are sold. You can see convertible, sedan, crossover, minivan, van, pickup truck, SUV, and so on and so forth. And you can see here that pickup trucks have actually depreciated in the last 30 days, and coupes have depreciated as well. This is big because for about 6 or 7 months straight, we were seeing consistent consistent greens across the board with body styles. Trucks were the very first cars that I was keeping an eye on that were actually starting to depreciate, and that's because of the fact that over the last couple of months, car manufacturers have prioritized the production of trucks over a lot of other cars out there. So for a while, pickup trucks were beginning to depreciate slightly, but this is the very first time that I've looked at this chart and seen that coupes are also depreciating as well, and they're actually depreciating in the last 30 days at a more substantial rate than pickup trucks. And if we look at the Cargurus index, that has also gone down as well, 0.31%. Again, very minor, but that's still a substantial change in the right direction. But what I really want to look at is what you can find if I scroll down even further, and you can see a breakdown of the makes of different vehicles. You can see that this list shows a ton of different makes. You can see Acura, Audi, Bentley, Ferrari, Ford, Genesis, GMC, the list goes on and on. And you can see that if we look here, there are a number of cars that have actually depreciated in the last 30 days. We have Alfa Romeo, we have Chevy, we have Dodge, we have Ford, we have Hummer, we have Infiniti, McLaren, Ram, Rolls-Royce, we have Tesla, we have Toyota, and last but not least, we have the Wagoneer. And to take it a step even further, you can even see some cars that have depreciated in the last 60 days. Tesla has depreciated 1.65%, the Wagoneer has depreciated the same, and Rolls-Royce has depreciated 1.18% in the last 60 days. Now, I know what you guys may be thinking. Whenever we look at this data, the changes are very, very small. The percentages in which these cars are depreciating are really minor, and whenever you look at this in the grand scheme of the purchase price of a car, you would maybe save a couple $100s by buying a car today versus buying a car a month ago. But what we really need to look at is the broader picture of what this means. And in my opinion, this could mean that the car market is finally beginning to turn around. Next, let's look at a graph that was pulled from the U.S. Census Bureau. This specific one is from the Federal Reserve of Economic Data, and this breaks down the retail sales used car dealers, so specifically the sales that are taking place at dealers. Now, keep in mind that this does not paint the full picture for the used car market. Instead, I think it just provides additional context. Now, if we look at the 10-year data, you can see that the used car market has changed quite a lot over the years. If you look at 2021, you can see that we hit an all-time high in March of 2021. Now, I'm going to hone in this data a bit further to 1 year, and you can see this a little bit closer. March of 2021, we hit an all-time high of used car sales volume. But then from there, things started to decrease. Of course, this is because of the fact that there's massive bottlenecking issues and massive production problems with new cars, and these issues were beginning to trickle down to the used cars as well. We saw a pretty steep decline in used car sales in the spring of 2021, and then in the summer of 2021, things kind of flatlined. Things were fairly consistent with no major ebbs or flows. But then in October of 2021, you can see that we saw another pretty significant decrease in the last quarter of the year. Now, whenever you look at this data, I think the very first thing that comes to mind is, of course, there was a decrease. We're still experiencing some pretty severe production issues across new cars, which is then again trickling down to used cars. But the thing is that we're not seeing this in the data of cars and how the vehicles are being priced. We're seeing cars beginning to depreciate once again, which would show that maybe the reason why used car sales has gone down is not only due to the fact that we're still experiencing production problems, but it's also due to the fact that demand for vehicles is simply starting to decrease. And I personally think that it's a combination of both, but I think that that second option, the fact that used car demand is starting to let up a bit, is playing a pretty significant role here. Of course, that's just my hunch. Now, the last piece of data that I want to look at is the piece of data from used car seller platforms. Now, if you're anything like me, you may spend a lot of time looking at used cars. I have a growing Turo fleet, and so because of that, I spend a lot of time looking on Facebook, Craigslist, Cars.com, AutoTrader. I look at these platforms all the time. Like, I'm not even kidding, probably 1 to 2 hours per day. So because of that, I've learned a lot over the last year about how car prices have been trending. And one thing that I've been noticing a lot is that cars are having more and more reduced prices. So let's take a look. Now, if we turn to my computer here, you can see that I'm at Cars.com, and I've chosen to use 3 filters: used cars, the minimum year of 2000, 2017, meaning they'll show me models 2017 and up, and a maximum price of $60,000. Now, the reason why I chose these three filters is because I think that it covers the vast majority of makes and models that most of us would be looking at, and it kind of takes out those really bad models, and it also takes out those really high-end ones, really the average consumer cars. And if we scroll through here, it doesn't take us very long to find cars that have price drop notifications. For example, this 2017 Genesis, which has a $1,500 price drop. If we continue to scroll down, you can see a 2019 Ram, which has a $993 price drop. And this is already considered to be a great deal. It's priced at $3,212 below market value, at least per cars.com. We scroll down not much further, a Jeep Cherokee with a $283 price drop, a 2018 Mercedes-Benz E-Class with a $3,600 price drop, a 2018 Chevy Tahoe with a $1,400 price drop, a 2019 Lexus with a $1,000 price drop, a Subaru Outback with a $3,500 price drop, a Honda Odyssey with a $1,000 price drop, GMC with a $2,000 price drop. I could go on and on, but the point is that we are seeing more and more often on these used car seller platforms that there are people that are having trouble selling their cars, and thus they're having to drop their prices. Now, again, all of this data may be up to interpretation, but I go back to what I've mentioned throughout this video and in a number of my other videos. I spend a lot of time looking at used cars, and I can tell you with complete confidence that this is one of the first times that I've seen so many cars with price drop notifications associated with their listing. It's also becoming more and more common to see cars that are listed as a great deal, meaning that they're listed within the kind of average KBB value for that vehicle. This is also the first time that I've seen more than a couple cars that have depreciated over the last 30 days. And if we look at that paired with the data of how many cars are being sold used, it really points to the fact that I think finally the used car market is starting to let up, which means that in turn, the new car market is also beginning to let up. Now, to be honest, none of this should surprise any of us because experts predicted at the beginning of this year that towards the second quarter of 2022, we would begin to see easing up of the production of new cars. And as we know, the new and used car market are connected. As production of new cars ends up increasing, that effect ends up trickling down to the used cars, and that makes used cars more accessible and thus cheaper for the average consumer. And again, I know that these small percentage points here and there may not seem substantial, but in order for big changes to be made in the prices of used cars, these small changes have to take place first. And I think this is a really good indicator that the new and used car market is changing. And these prices that we see decreasing by 1%, 0.5%, are going to start decreasing even substantially over the next couple of months. Now, as far as what my recommendation is for how you should proceed if you're somebody who's wanting to buy a car, I think that the best thing that you can do is be as strategic and patient as possible whenever it comes to buying a car. If you're able to wait, then I would probably encourage you to wait until the second half of 2022. If you're somebody who simply can't wait, well, then my advice would to still be patient and do your due diligence. There are still some good deals to go around. You just really have to look for them, and you have to jump on them once they become available. But they are there, they just take some more searching. Like always, you guys, I hope that you enjoyed this video, and I hope it gave you some valuable insight into the new and used car market. Again, I am doing these videos monthly as the new and used car market changes, so my next one will be in March. If you guys have any questions, comments, if you have anything to add, I would love to hear it, so make sure to leave a comment down below. And while you guys are at it, make sure to hit the like button, hit that subscribe button, and hit the notification bell, and I will see you guys in the next video.